You are in a city that doesn't forgive mistakes. Kyiv, 1987. Winter has swallowed everything. The streets are gray. The buildings are gray. Even the sky looks like it was built by the government. Your name is Aleksei. You are 23 years old. You work in a research facility on the east side of the city. Small desk. Fluorescent lights. Coffee that tastes like metal. You solve problems that other people can't even understand. Equations that make senior scientists go quiet. Patterns that nobody else sees. But you never talk about it. Because in this city, being too smart is not a gift. It's a target. You learned that early. From your father. He was an engineer. Brilliant man. One day he corrected a general's calculation in a public meeting. The general smiled and nodded. 3 days later, your father disappeared. No arrest. No trial. No body. Just an empty chair at the dinner table and a mother who never said his name again. So you learned to be invisible. To solve the problem. Submit the report. Keep your eyes down. Never let them see how fast your mind was actually moving. It worked. For years, it worked. Until the morning a man in a gray coat walked into your office, sat across from you, placed a single folder on your desk, and said 7 words that changed everything. Asterisk, the state has a problem only you can solve. Asterisk. You looked at the folder. You didn't open it. Because somewhere deep in your brain, that same brain they wanted, the calculation was already running. And the answer it kept returning to was this. Asterisk, men like him don't ask. They inform, asterisk. You opened the folder. You don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe fear. Maybe because somewhere inside you already knew that not opening it was never really an option. The file was thin. 7 pages. Classified stamps on every corner. But what was inside those 7 pages made your hands go cold. It was you. Your entire life. Condensed into data points. Your test scores from age 6. Your school reports. The books you borrowed from the library. The letters you wrote that you thought were private. Even a photograph, you, sitting alone at a park bench 3 weeks ago, eating lunch, thinking about prime numbers. They had been watching you for years. The man in the gray coat, his name was Volkov, leaned forward and spoke slowly. Like he was explaining something to a child. Asterisk, there is a war coming, Aleksei. Not the kind they write about in newspapers. A war of minds. And your country needs its sharpest weapon. Asterisk. You asked what that meant. He smiled. The kind of smile that has no warmth behind it. Asterisk, you will be taken to a facility. You will solve problems. And in return, you and your family will be protected. Asterisk. Protected. That word landed wrong. Because protection in this country didn't mean safety. It meant they now owned you. Your mind. Your time. Your silence. You looked at the photograph of yourself sitting alone in that park. You remembered that day. You had felt completely invisible. Turns out you never were. You said yes. Not because you wanted to. But because your mother was still alive. And you knew, with absolute mathematical certainty, that no was not a door. It was a grave. The facility had no name. Just a number. Unit 7. Somewhere outside the city, past the checkpoint, past the forest, past the second checkpoint that didn't appear on any map. They drove you there at night. Black vehicle. No windows in the back. You counted the turns. 17 right. 9 left. 40 minutes at consistent speed. You were mapping the route in your head even as your hands were trembling in your lap. Old habit. Your brain never stops. Even when you want it to. Unit 7 looked like a hospital from outside. White walls. Clean lines. Quiet. But the moment the doors closed behind you, something shifted in the air. That specific silence that doesn't feel like peace. It feels like held breath. They gave you a room. Small. A bed, a desk, one light bulb overhead. No window. They gave you problems to solve. Mathematical models. Logistics calculations. Resource distributions for operations in regions they never named. You solve them. Quickly. Efficiently. Without asking what they were for. Because you already knew. Every equation had a human cost somewhere at the end of it. You could feel it. The way a doctor feels the weight of a diagnosis before he says it out loud. But you said nothing. There were others in the facility. 12 scientists. All brilliant. All quiet. All moving through the corridors with the same carefully constructed expression, focused, compliant, empty. Nobody made friends here. Because on your third day, the scientist in the room next to yours, a mathematician named Gregor, asked Volkov a question about where his calculations were being used. That evening, Gregor's room was empty. His desk was clean. Like he had never existed. You sat on your bed that night, back straight, breathing slow, and made yourself a promise. You will not ask questions. You will not make friends. You will only survive. But survival, you were about to learn, had a price. And they collected it in pieces. So small you almost didn't notice. Until one day you looked in the mirror and the face staring back at you didn't feel like yours anymore. 6 months passed. Then 12. Then you stopped counting. Time inside Unit 7 doesn't move the way it does outside. There is no sunrise. No season changing outside a window. Just the fluorescent light. The desk. The problems. The silence. You became very good at the silence. Your mind, that same mind Volkov called a weapon, had begun to change. You noticed it slowly. The way you notice a scar forming. First the equation stopped feeling heavy. The human cost you used to sense at the end of every calculation went quiet. Numbers became just numbers. Problems became just problems. You told yourself this was focus. It wasn't focus. It was the first thing they took from you. Then came the morning Volkov walked in and placed a different kind of folder on your desk. Not equations this time. Faces. Photographs. Names. Locations. We need to know which of these men are liabilities, he said. You understood what liability meant in this building. You sat very still. Asterisk, you have their communication patterns. Their behavioral data. You will identify who breaks first under pressure. Asterisk. Your brain was already running the analysis before you made the conscious decision to do it. That was the moment you should have stopped. You didn't. You handed Volkov the list 3 hours later. 4 names. Identified with complete mathematical certainty. He looked at the list. Nodded once. Left. 2 days later, 4 rooms in the corridor were empty. 4 desks clean. For men who had families, histories, faces, reduced to a calculation you had solved between breakfast and lunch. You sat at your desk that evening. You waited to feel something. Guilt. Horror. Grief. Anything. But the feeling that came was quieter than all of those. And far more terrifying. Satisfaction. Clean answer. Correct solution. Problem resolved. Your mind had been rewired so slowly, so carefully, that you hadn't even felt it happen. Outside, somewhere beyond the checkpoints and the forest and the city, your mother was sitting at a dinner table with an empty chair. First your father. Now you. Both taken by the same system. One violently. One voluntarily. And the most haunting part, the part that would stay with you long after everything else faded, was that by the time you realized what you had become, you no longer had the emotional capacity to be disturbed by it. The light bulb above your desk hummed steadily. You opened the next folder. And you began.